The Golden Windows is what this text is called. So, all day long, the little boy worked hard in the field and barn and shed, for his people were poor farmers and could not pay a workman. But at sunset, and I'll actually do this so you guys can see, but at sunset there came an hour that was all his own, for his father had given it to him. Okay, so what do we know so far? He's working very, very hard. He's from a poor family, but he gets this 1 hour at sunset where he seems to not have to actually do any work. And he feels that this hour is very, very, very special. So let's see why. Let's keep going. Then the boy would go up to the top of a hill and look across at another hill that rose some miles away. On this far hill stood a house with windows of clear gold and diamonds. They shone blaze so that it made the boy wink to look at them. But after a while the people in the house put up shutters, as it seemed, and then it looked like any common farmhouse. The boy supposed they did this because it was supper time. And then he would go into the house and have his supper of bread and milk and so to bed. So, there is something very special about these windows. Makes sense why the text is called Golden Windows so far. Let's see what is so special about them. Let's keep going. Now, one day the boy's father called him and said, "You have been a good boy and have earned a holiday. Take this day for your own, but remember that God gave it and try to learn some good things." So as you can see, guys, this family here seems to obviously be in a pretty difficult position. Like, they can't really afford to take a day off work, right? Which means, in this case, right, it's actually a very, very, very special thing that the boy has been given a day off work, okay? And that's why they've got this discussion over here. Let's keep going. The boy thanked his father and kissed his mother, and then he put a piece of bread in his pocket and started off to find the house with the golden windows. It was pleasant walking. His bare feet made marks in the white dust, and when he looked back, the footprints seemed to be following him and making company for him. His shadow, too, kept beside him and would dance or run with him as he pleased. So it was very cheerful. I really like this little paragraph here. You can very easily imagine what's happening around the little boy, right? So definitely you can use this as inspiration for your own writing pieces. But today, of course, our focus is not writing, it's reading. So let's keep going. By and by he felt hungry. He sat down by a brown brook that ran through the alder hedge by the roadside and ate his bread and drank the clear water. Then he scattered the crumbs for the birds, as his mother had taught him to do, and went on his way. So even though he doesn't really have much to give, the little that he does have to give, like even the crumbs of his own bread, he's still trying to help other animals in nature in any way that he can. After a long time he came to a high green hill, and when he had climbed the hill, there was the house on the top. But it seemed that the shutters were up, for he could not see the golden windows. He came up to the house, and then he could well have wept, for the windows were of clear glass, and like any others, there was no gold anywhere about them. Okay, so wait a sec. We said earlier that he thought these windows had diamonds and gold, but now he goes up close, and he's not really seeing any gold. He's not really seeing anything crazy. Okay? So, what's the explanation for this? Let's keep reading. A woman came to the door and looked kindly at the boy and asked him what he wanted. "I saw the golden windows from our hilltop," he said, "and I came to see them, but now they are only glass." The woman shook her head and laughed. "We are poor farming people," she said, "and are not likely to have gold about our windows, but glass is better to see through." She bade the boy sit down on the broad stone step at the door, and brought him a cup of milk and a cake, and bade him rest. Then she called her daughter, a child of his own age, and looked kindly at the two, and went back to her work. The little girl was barefooted like himself, wore a brown cotton gown, and her hair was golden like the windows he had seen, and her eyes were blue like the sky at noon. She led the boy around the farm, and showed him her black calf with the white star on its forehead, and he told her about his own at home, which was red like a chestnut with 4 white feet. Then, when they had eaten an apple together, and so had become friends, the boy asked her about the golden windows. The little girl nodded, and said she knew all about them, only he had mistaken the house. "You have come quite the wrong way," she said. "Come with and I will show you the house with the golden windows, and then you will see for yourself. Okay, so the explanation so far is that they're at the wrong house. But let's keep going. Let's see if this is indeed true or not. Let's keep reading. Now, we're up to here. They went to a knoll that rose behind the farmhouse, and as they went, the little girl told him that the golden windows could only be seen at a certain hour, about sunset. And again, that makes a little sense because remember, guys, when he has that break during the day, it's always during sunset. So that matches up as well. Yes, I know that, said the boy. When they reached the top of the knoll, the girl turned and pointed, and there on a hill far away stood a house with windows of clear gold and diamond, just as he had seen them. And when they looked again, the boy saw that it was his own home. Because remember, there's like two hills, right? It's going to be a bit difficult to draw, but there's like one hill here, one hill there. Here's the one house, here's the other house. And the boy has walked from his house all the way to the other house because he thought this house had golden windows. But actually, looking this way now, his own house has golden windows. That's basically what's happening here. Now, then he told the little girl that he must go, and he gave her his best pebble, the white one with the red band that he had carried for a year in his pocket. So again, he's very, 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 very giving. He doesn't have much to give. Like a pebble obviously isn't, a very expensive thing, but the point is that whatever he has, he tries to give to people. He tries to help people out. And she gave him 3 horse chestnuts, one red like satin, one spotted, and one white like milk. He kissed her and promised to come again, but he did not tell her what he had learnt. So he went back down the hill, and the little girl stood in the sunset light and watched him. The way home was long, and it was dark before the boy reached his father's house. But the lamplight and the firelight shone through the windows, making them almost as bright as he had seen them from the hilltop. And when he opened the door, his mother came to kiss him, and his little sister ran to throw her arms about his neck. And his father looked up and smiled from his seat by the fire. "Have you had a good day?" asked his mother. Yes, the boy had had a very good day. "And have you learned anything?" asked his father. "Yes," said the boy. "I have learned that our house has windows of gold and diamond." Okay, interesting. So what do we think this actually means, okay? Does his house actually have gold and diamonds? No, it's not made of gold and diamonds. We already said that this family was quite poor. They don't have this much money. But the idea is that he's actually learned to be very, very, very grateful for his home and see the beauty in his own home, just like he was able to see the beauty in someone else's home on this side of the hilltop, okay? So when he went to the little girl's house, he thought this house was beautiful. It had these amazing windows with gold and diamond. He went up close, he realized it actually looks pretty normal. Then when he looked at his own house, he was finally able to see what he had been seeing in the little girl's house. And he realized, wow, maybe I don't actually need to have gold and diamond on the windows. I can still appreciate the natural beauty and how it looks at sunset. And that is what he's realized, that his own house is just as beautiful. He doesn't need the gold and the diamonds. Okay, so that's pretty much the lesson that we've picked up from this story. I think we're ready to do some questions. So let's do it. Let's get started over here with the very first one. The boy's favorite pastime is, and we learned this pretty much from the very, very, very start of the text, and it's pretty much what I've drawn over here as well. Option B, watching a house on top of the hill. How do we know this? Well, if we go back up to the very first paragraph we said earlier, right? At sunset every day, when he had a free hour, every day he would do the same thing. He would go on the top of the hilltop. He would look at the house with the golden and diamond windows. Every single day, that's what he would do to pass his time when he has some spare time. So it makes sense, of course, that our answer here is option B. Okay? Eating his bread is definitely a bit of a distraction. Okay? And the reason why this is a distraction is because, yes, eating bread has been mentioned a couple of times. But this is not his pastime. He just was hungry, so he had to eat at multiple different points in the story. That is not what he does to pass time. So that does not fit the question. Also, option C is a bit of a trap as well. Admiring the hill with a house on top of it. He's not admiring the hill. He's admiring the house, not the hill. So that's why option B is better than option C. And he wasn't really relaxing either. So we definitely have to go with option B for this very first one. Alrighty. Now, what about the next one? How would you define the boy's situation in paragraph 3? Okay, we have to go back and check what paragraph 3 was about. So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, right? What is the situation? What is the situation that's being described over here? Okay? Well, what we're seeing is that his dad in the previous paragraph has said to him, yeah, you can go off, you can have a day off, you don't have to work today. He goes all by himself to try look for this house with the gold and the diamond windows. Okay? All by himself. That's what we learned pretty much so far in this paragraph. And this is just describing his journey. So if we go back down and we look at the answer options, let's check. He is alone? Yes. He's still happy? Yes. As he goes about his rest day? Absolutely. He was so excited to see that house. Again, with the golden and diamond windows. So that definitely makes sense. Option A looks pretty good to me right now. Let's check the rest. B. He enjoyed having his day off with a cheerful disposition. Okay, does everyone know what this word over here means? With a cheerful disposition. Who can tell me, what does this word mean? Okay. Disposition, in this case, usually just, when we use the word disposition to refer to, in this specific case, again, remember, read the whole sentence so you can understand the context of it, enjoyed having his day off. Okay, he's had a happy day, that, I guess, makes sense, right? With cheerful disposition, right? When you say you're doing something at your own disposition, that just means you're dealing with it as you want to deal with it, okay? But in this case, option B doesn't really match what's being described in the paragraph. Yeah, sure, he makes his own decisions, but specifically what's described in the paragraph is that, yes, he's having a cheerful time, but he's going on this little adventure. He's going specifically to look for this house with the golden windows. So if we compare options A and B, right, he's not actually just having a day off, right? He's actually going somewhere. He's going somewhere alone, which is exactly what option A describes. Option B is quite vague, and it doesn't exactly match what is happening in the paragraph. So that's why option A is a better answer here than option B. Option C is also a bit of a distractor. He likes being alone. He never says that he likes being alone. It's just he's the only person that has a day off that day, so he has to go by himself. But it never says in the text he wants to be alone, he loves being alone. So we cannot assume that, remember, no assumptions when it comes to English questions, which means this is not going to work. He looks forward to his long walk towards the hill. Again, be careful with this, because if we scroll back up, it doesn't actually say he's looking forward to the long walk. I mean, he realizes that he has to do the long walk, because how else is he going to get there? But he's not really that excited for the walk himself. He's excited for seeing the house, which means this here is not going to work either, and we're definitely going to go with 2A. Beautiful. Next one, in paragraph 7, the boy was met with blank. Let's have a look at paragraph 7. So this one is number 4, number 5, number 6. That means this here is number 7. Okay? So, there is number 7. What was he met with in this paragraph? What do we think? Well, this is the whole paragraph where he interacts with the woman who lives in the opposite farmhouse. Not the little girl yet, maybe her mother. I think I said earlier that this was her daughter, right? So yes, the mother of the little farm girl, right? So pretty much he's meeting a stranger and she's been pretty kind to him. That's all we see in this whole paragraph. Just give him a cup of milk, etc., etc. So if we go back down, disappointment. No, he doesn't express any disappointment so far. Hasn't been mentioned at all in this paragraph. Snacks ready for him to eat. Be careful with this. No snacks ready for him to eat, okay? This, be very, very careful, and here's why. Yeah, sure, she brought him a cup of milk and she brought him a cake, but these weren't snacks ready for him because they didn't expect him. He's just a stranger. He's just knocked on the door of a house that he's never been at in his life before. So it's not that they were ready for him, they were waiting for him there. Option B is quite misleading, okay? That is why option B here doesn't really work, because no one was preparing this for him. It's just option C, actually. Hospitality from a stranger. Because this stranger, this woman, saw him, by himself. He's a little boy. She was like, hey, come in, have some food, have a cup of milk, blah, 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 right? So option B here, definitely misleading. That's not going to work. And option D, also not correct. Why is option D not correct? because first he met the older woman, then he met her daughter. So immediately he was not actually met with a new playmate, which means this is not going to work either. Now, which paragraph uses the literary figure of simile? So what is a simile, guys? It is when we compare things using either the word like or using the word as. You must use one of these two words. So if we go through and check these paragraphs specifically, let's have a look, okay? We're going to pretty much skim through these and see if we can find anything. Okay, I don't see any like or as in paragraph 4, so that's not going to be it. Let's skim through this. Nope, nope, nope. I don't see anything here in paragraph 6 either. I think it was 8 and 9 we have to check next. So let's check number 8. Let's see. Skimming through. There you go. Her hair was golden like the windows he had seen. What am I seeing? Immediately, the word like. That is indeed a simile, which means my correct answer is option C. There you go. Very, very, very good work. Alrighty, next one. Number 5. How did the woman assure the boy that his assumptions were wrong? Again, we're not looking at the little girl, we're looking at the woman, the mother, right? So let's go back up and let's have a look. How did she assure him? Remember, they had a conversation specifically about this in this paragraph, paragraph 6 here, where he said, the woman shook her head and laughed. We are poor farming people and are not likely to have gold about our windows. Okay? She's saying basically they're farmers and they can't afford having gold and diamonds. So, if we go back down, is it A, by telling them what they do for a living? Absolutely. They say we're farmers, we're poor farmers. This is not going to be our house. B, show them that the windows were made of glass. No, that's not what was described in the paragraph. She said they were made of glass. She did not go ahead and show him the windows. She never did like a whole tour of the house and said, here are the windows. That was never described in the text. This is an assumption. By showing him around the house, again, never happened. By telling him that they could not afford such luxury, be very careful about this one. Again, if I go back up to show you the specific wording, she said, we are poor farming people. That's the very first thing she says. And then she says, we're not likely to have gold. Okay? She insinuates that they can't afford it, but what she specifically says is that they are poor farming people. So, if I have a look at the answers here, A and D, I can see why people would have thought D, but option A is a better answer because this is explicitly stated in the text, whereas D is only implied. Okay? Beautiful. Now, question number 6. Exactly how many houses with golden windows are there? I think we all know the answer to this one now. It's going to be none, okay? Because remember, if I go back to that little diagram that I drew earlier, the boy thought the opposite house had golden windows. It didn't, so that doesn't count. And then if we look the other way around, the little girl over here thought that his house had golden windows, which it doesn't. So actually neither of the houses do, which means my correct answer is 0. It's just an illusion that comes up at sunset. That's all it is. Okay? Now, question number 7. Now, first of all, we should all go through at least what the word allegory means, because it's a pretty important word. And of course, you've got to know what it means to understand what the question is asking. So what is an allegory? An allegory is a hidden meaning in a text. And typically, that hidden meaning, okay, is usually either a moral thing, so it teaches us a life lesson, or it might be a political thing. Those are the 2 different types of hidden meanings that you can have in an allegory, usually, okay? So, in this case, the allegory in the story has to be the hidden meaning of the story. And what do we think the hidden meaning of this story is? Let's go through and check. There are 2 houses exhibiting the luxuries of gold. No, there's actually 0 houses exhibiting the luxuries of gold. And even then, even if you take this to be metaphorical, that's not really a hidden meaning, okay? Option B. Gold to indicate that while the characters are farmers, they actually have hidden treasures. No, they don't. We just discovered that they don't have any hidden treasures. We thought, oh, there might be gold and diamond on the windows, but there actually wasn't. So that doesn't work either. Seeing houses at different times of day indicates that we see things differently based on our perspectives. Does this work? Absolutely, okay? Remember, when they saw the houses during the day, nothing special. They looked like plain old boring farmhouses. When they saw them during sunset, what did we see in this case? We saw this beautiful appearance of gold. Okay? So, it's saying here that depending on your perspective of something, you might see it differently. Because while the little farmer boy saw the opposite house as this magical golden windows, his own house, he didn't even think of it like that. It was all about his perspective, how he was considering different things. So this definitely works here. If we look at the next one, seeing gold while living a hard life would represent trying to see the good in every bad situation. Again, this here doesn't really match what has been said in the text, okay? Why does this not match what has been said in the text? Because in the whole text, both families have been very, 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 very grateful. They haven't really complained about their financial situations. They haven't really ever complained about their hardship. So it's not that they use the gold to try to see good in a bad situation. They realize they're not very rich, but they are still quite happy with their lives. So this definitely doesn't match. Now, our very last question. What exactly is the one good thing that the boy learned from his day off? Okay, what did he learn? He learned that him and his family were rich. Well, that's definitely not true. He learned that his house is also made of gold. Again, his house is not made of gold. It's just an illusion. He learned that his house is as beautiful as the rest. Interesting. Careful with this now because C and D are very, very, very similar. Okay? Is it that he sees his own house as beautiful as other houses? Or that he figures out that different people can see his own house the way that he sees their houses, right? Remember, when he actually went to the opposite house, the house on the opposite side of the hill, and he didn't see the golden windows and he just saw a plain old farmhouse, he thought it was just, again, a plain old farmhouse. He didn't really think it was anything special. He didn't think it was anything that beautiful and crazy, right? So he's not really saying, wow, my house is just as beautiful as other houses. All he's realizing is that, again, his house can appear beautiful during certain times, depending on what perspective you see it from. It's exactly what was being said over here, right? Your perspective. And so perspective has to do with how different people see things, which is exactly what option D is describing. He learned that people see his house as beautiful as well, okay? So that is why option D here is actually a better answer than option C. Good work. So overall, the text itself wasn't too tricky to understand, but the difficult thing with this was that there were quite a few questions that had very, very similar answer options. But you have to look for those really, really subtle differences and check specifically what has been mentioned in the text. Don't assume ever, because there are a lot of assumptions in the answer options to get your question right. Alrighty, guys. And that's all the questions done. Good, beautiful work, everyone. Well, thank you all so much for coming. Let me know, of course, if you enjoyed, if you found today's little lesson useful, and I'll see you all